Pavilion, but we are pleased to welcome to the program Mr. Sean Tindell. He serves as the Commissioner of the Mississippi Department of Public Safety. Commissioner, always good to see you, sir.
Great to be here on this hot July day and at the Neshoba County Fair.
I wanted to first just pass on that I saw the Colonel Randy Ginn, and some of the state troopers assembled around the pavilion earlier today and went over and shook their hand, thanked them for their service. They're so great, aren't they?
They are. They're wonderful. We've had our CTED enforcement guys, some of our Bureau of Narcotics agents out here, plain clothes. So even you see the ones in the uniform, but there's others that you don't even know are here, and they're out here doing their job, making this a safe fair, working with local law enforcement. And, really, you have to search pretty hard to go back and find a major incident that occurred at this fair.
Yeah. So. Always enjoy, of course, talking to Captain Turnipseed as well. He comes on, gives us a good report from the traffic across the state on the busy travel weekends, and we appreciate them, many of them, rather than being at home with their families on these holidays. They're out keeping us safe on the roads, and we appreciate that.
That's right. And it's not just on holidays. It's when we have a natural disaster or any other major event, when folks are at the barbecue grill with their family, these officers are out there making the community safe. And so from Tupelo to Moss Point to Gulfport up to DeSoto County, we've got a fine group of law enforcement in this state that works very hard to keep our community safe.
Give us an update. How's it going overall with the department?
I think things are going great. We, of course, we're at a new trooper school, and under Governor Reeves' administration, this will be, I think, the first time since the Fordyce administration that we've gone 4 consecutive years of a governor's administration with a trooper school, and we're going to continue that trend for the next 4 years. Class 68 will be starting in January 2024, and we're looking forward to getting those individuals who qualify and are willing to make the sacrifice out on the road. MBN's growing in its mission. We did a tour of North Mississippi, meeting with local law enforcement, talking to community leaders about different ways our Bureau of Narcotics can assist with the record number of overdose deaths that we're seeing and drug use on our college campuses.
Yeah.
And really, CTED's doing a great job working with our commercial trucking industry on moving products but keeping our roads safe, and driver services rocking along. Your wait times, if you go, went from 3 hours to about 15 minutes.
It's awesome. I've experienced it personally. It's awesome.
Yeah, and so we're trying to use technology as our friend, bring innovation and look at different ways of doing things. And, of course, we got Capitol Police. Those men and women are working with Hinds County and Jackson PD to really make the capital city safe.
Yeah, how's that going? That's brand new.
It's brand new. We've had some trials and tribulations early on. Earning the trust of the communities that we're serving took some time, but I think they're getting more comfortable with us, and with that, the officers are out there able to do a better job, and we've really seen, I think, a positive impact on that community and our capital city with the extra law enforcement that we have out there right now.
You have any thoughts or opinion, if you wanted to share, about how the lawsuit's going to land at this point?
I really don't know. I spend a little time on the court myself, and so I have a lot of faith that the judicial system will do its best to get it right, and we'll see what that ends up being. But I think ultimately, even if certain portions of it are overturned, the court or others, it's something the legislature can come back and fix. But I do believe that the district lines as they stand are going to be okay. The Capitol Police are going to be okay. And we're just going to keep doing the mission that we have been, which is to enforce our laws, hold criminals accountable, and make sure that the CCID and then the capital city for all visitors is a place to come and live and go to school and visit your Capitol, visit your court, visit your Supreme Court, visit your museums, and not have to worry about being robbed or pillaged when you come.
Should never have to worry when you go into the capital city.
That's
you
right.
Should.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so it's been a really good, I think, few years. We're looking forward to the future. We've got some things on the table I think are going to be important. We're going to make a big push this year to bring back mandatory driver's education classes in every school in the state. The reality is we spend a lot of time talking about active shooters. We lose far more teenagers to fatal accidents on our highways than we do in active shooter situations. So we need to get that back in the classrooms and make sure these young drivers are getting the training they need to be safe.
What about new headquarters? Aren't you guys working on that?
That has come along great. The legislature has been a real friend of making that happen. People don't realize, the Department of Public Safety is the Mississippi Highway Patrol, Mississippi Bureau of Investigation, Bureau of Narcotics, Office of Homeland Security, Driver Services, Capitol Police, CTED, Public Safety Planning, I think I said Office of Homeland Security. We've got 11 different divisions. We got the medical lab, medical examiner's office, as well as the forensics lab. And all of those have been spread out all over. The headquarters for each of those divisions have been in different places. And so for the first time in our agency history, you're going to have everybody underneath one roof, and that's going to improve communications. It's going to improve morale. It's going to improve our ability to be good leaders throughout the state. And I think it was a great move by the legislature, not just to put us in a pretty new building, but to improve law enforcement and public safety in our state.
Now, what about the crime lab? Is that under your purview as well?
It is. The Mississippi Forensics Lab is under our purview, and we've got a new director there, Mary Dukes. She's been doing a fine job bringing in new analysts to help with the backlog that we've had.
Because we've had some staffing issues there, we
do, and it's tough. You know, when you're trying to recruit young people for a career working at the crime lab, it's one of those things that's looked good on TV. But then they get there and they realize that, you know, there's some challenges day in and day out to analyzing drugs. And so we've tried to make that a more attractive job with the salaries, but also with some of the other things that we do to build morale and improve the working conditions there. And I think in the long run that's going to make a major impact. We're also looking at doing some regional labs because the reality is we have a lot of talent in this state, but it doesn't all live in Jackson.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to take advantage of those that want to go into that career path, but maybe they live in Columbus or Tupelo or the Gulf Coast or Hattiesburg and have regional labs they can work out of. Our medical examiner's office has done a great job. When we got there, had a backlog to 2012 for autopsy reports that had not been completed.
Wow.
We're getting up to 2020 now and really making a major turnaround there under the leadership of Dr. Stacy Turner as the chief medical examiner.
What about the pay for our troopers and your staff? Do you believe it's time for the legislature to throw an increase in there?
I think we have to. And the reality is inflation's hit everybody hard, not just on the law enforcement and state trooper side, but across the board. But I can tell you 2 years ago we got a record pay raise for our state troopers. Went from about $43,000 to $50,000 to start. But now Tennessee is starting at $65,000. Arkansas is starting at $60,000. Louisiana's in the mid-60s. Alabama's getting up there. So we've got to stay ahead of it, and we're going to make a big push this year to get the trooper salaries and our MBN agent salaries up to $60,000 as a starting salary.
How are we doing just from a staffing in terms of numbers? Do we have adequate staff? Do we have open positions we need to fill?
We've got open positions, but nationwide, that's a problem in law enforcement.
Yeah.
You look back to 2020 and the narratives that were pushed down on law enforcement across the country, it drove a lot of people out of wanting to get in this profession. And what I've tried to emphasize to our law enforcement leadership, and particularly when we're looking at filling those vacancies, we can't let the demand of filling the vacancy negate the quality of people that we need to get in those positions.
So you want to maintain the standards even though you need people.
That's right.
Because we're seeing those be diluted across our country in a variety of disciplines.
100%. And that's what, a lot of it was the talk of defunding police. But now, if you look at what they've done, is in essence, they've tried to create a situation where law enforcement will lower its standards to improve their narrative against law enforcement. And what we're trying to do is make sure that we get those standards up, that we improve the salaries. I personally believe, and I'm going to push, that the minimum salary for any law enforcement officer in this state ought to start at $40,000 a year. You shouldn't go into law enforcement and have to work 2 or 3 jobs to do it. And,
is that happening?
Oh, yes, everywhere. I mean, there's some local departments that are starting off at $32,000, $31,000. And when you do that, those officers that have families, they got to go work second jobs. And they're not going to be on their A game if they're working 80 hours a week. We need them on their A game, and they need to be able to do one job, and that's to be a law enforcement officer and make our community safe.
Yeah.
So we're going to make a push for the local guys, but we're also going to make a push for our state law enforcement to get up there so that we can compete with Tennessee and Texas. Texas starts them off at $95,000 a year.
Wow.
And so we've got to do some stuff, and we're going to do that. Our guys make a sacrifice. Our ladies make a sacrifice, often at the expense of their own families, and we're going to try to create an environment where they can do one job and not have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to be a law enforcement officer.
Yeah, absolutely. Commissioner Sean Tindell has been our guest on Middays. Always good to see you, sir. And once again, my thanks to the good folks at the Mississippi Highway Patrol and all the agencies that you oversee, all those folks, like you said, even behind the scenes. They work to keep us safe, and we appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate what y'all do. Thank you for being out here.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We're stepping aside for a break right here on Middays on Founders Square at Mississippi's Giant House Park.